We are working on, like I had mentioned earlier, some of the Black Friday, Cyber Monday work, and we actually will take data from success or challenges during that time period and launch that one day after Cyber Monday. So that will be available to our customers during kind of that post-mort period where they can understand, hey, this is what we did well, this is what could have went better, this is what other brands did, and we can look to do next year. So I think data is really important for that end moment of that campaign where we can share that data, again, kind of helping our customers and marketers along the way. Something that was real-time data was at a past company when I was at Slack, where we found out our message wasn't resonating globally. And I think that's really important too, to not just have data from campaigns or customers or work that you're putting out in the world, but making sure your message is working and conveying and doing what you need it to do. We were able to pivot that pretty quickly, along with some big time activations at the time, which was essential to success. But yeah, don't take your eye off the message. It's critical.
Hello and welcome to Best Story Wins. I'm your host, Josh, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jason. And today, our guest is Jess Ellis from Attentive. Hey, Jess. Thanks for joining us today. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Nice to see you again, Josh and Jason.
Hi, Jess.
Yeah, likewise, Jess. So Jess, for our listeners, could you start us off with a quick overview of what Attentive does and also share a little bit about what you focus on in your role?
Yes. Attentive is an omni-channel marketing platform. We help our marketers understand their customers for email, SMS, push, and RCS. And in my role, I'm focusing on brand, content, creative, and comms.
So Jess, can you walk us through your path to Attentive and how your overall career arc and past experience have shaped the way you approach brand marketing today?
My first role was at the NBA, and I was actually on the creative team. We had all sorts of responsibilities that, spanned in-person experiences like our games, high-touch VIP events. We also had, of course, the website, the store, all of the teams themselves and their identities. And really for that to be a proving ground for me as a brand marketer, I took that experience through B2C brands, agency work, and then now ultimately my past 8 years in SaaS B2B software.
In your space where Attentive plays and competes, I think it's probably really tempting to want to focus on features in your marketing, but I think we're all aware now that, that's kind of a losing game. So how do you all really aim to put the story first and do so in a way that helps your brand stand out? And are there any ways that you're all, since you've joined the company not too long ago, making some shifts to kind of how things were done before and how things are being done now?
100%. There's been a really intentional shift back to brand. In fact, my role was new to the organization. They hadn't had a brand marketer on the team for a couple of years. So right now we're really looking back at our foundation and our brand idea. For us, that means filling in the gaps for things that maybe weren't created at the beginning of the company's history, but also looking at what's changed, reevaluating the mission, looking at our values, and then making sure that the company, our best advocates, can espouse that message to the market and to their customers and partners.
That's awesome to hear you're giving attention to that. There's a lot of people who can sometimes look at that foundational work as fake work or fluff, but we've always really loved digging into that with like the brand heart and setting up a really strong, even if it's not something you're repeating like a parrot everywhere you go, it can be a really strong undercurrent, right? For guiding what's true in your story and making sure that you're actually aligning your brand efforts to a strong vision.
Yeah. And sometimes all it takes is a moment to reflect and create that source of truth, especially when a company is growing like Attentive. We're pretty hyper growth, making sure that new people, when they join, understand the story and what we're trying to do out in the market as well.
And as you emerge from the mountaintop, these like summit type conversations, and start to think about, bringing that to market or bringing campaigns or even building worlds around this foundation, how do you think about shaping an ongoing brand narrative and going beyond just like a one-off campaign?
I love this question because it sparks so many thoughts. For us internally, we're doing a lot of work on how we bring messages to life to the market through both campaigns and initiatives. But for me as a brand leader, what that means is making sure everybody has the understanding and confidence of that backbone of the brand. So then it's just naturally and organically, hopefully, woven through all of the touch points that any role or function is working on out to the market, our customers, our partners. A great example of that, I think, for us is recently finding out that some of our current customers weren't aware that we offered really great email marketing. We were known as SMS first, mobile first for a long time. So, doing the work there where we're looking back at our brand story and explaining how all of that ability to support marketers is omni-channel, not just the SMS piece that might have been part of feature work at one point. So also bringing those features back to the brand story and making sure that's relevant in our product positioning.
I know you're relatively new there, but is there a campaign that you've worked on at Attentive that you think really captures the brand personality? And if so, what do you think about that campaign? What was the reason why it worked and why it was so effective?
Today is actually my 90-day anniversary. So, woohoo. In, I think, our time, this is maybe dog years, like 7 times as long. There's been so much that's been worked on. It's so wonderful. The campaign that we've just launched is our Marketers Sanctuary campaign. And this is to support marketers through Black Friday, Cyber Monday. I'm sure as consumers, both of you, that's going to be later in the year. But for marketers, it starts as early as July, planning those campaigns, getting those goals and KPIs in place. And what we are doing as Attentive is creating this repository on the website, webinars for support, these resources for marketers to go to figure out how to have their best BFCN so they don't have to stress. So the idea of this sanctuary story is also, the messaging of relax, we've got your back. We're here to make sure that this is calm and collected. And we're doing a lot of activations that also amplify that message. It's super fun and about our marketers, not so much about Attentive.
And what role does the brand storytelling play in your team's overall marketing efforts? Are there any unique challenges or opportunities presented by the vertical approach you take?
This is a good question because I do think in any industry, you're going to look at your competition, you're going to look at other businesses in the space and wonder, what is it that makes us different? What is our secret sauce, if you will? And for Attentive, we've really landed on this marketing made personal as an idea, our brand backbone. We have top line identity, orchestration, and deliverability that are differentiators. But on top of that, the people, the strategic services team, the customer success, and the understanding that it's not just marketers that we're marketing to, it's their consumers. So this whole through line of human connection we take really seriously, and it's really important to our brand overall.
Cool. So I think we've all seen a ton of those posts on LinkedIn that are like brand versus demand, right? They're kind of played out at this point. And that being said, I think as brand marketers, we need to figure out how we're balancing the work of long-term brand building that takes a while, right? With kind of the more short-term oriented demand work. How do you navigate striking a good balance there in making sure that you're focused on pipeline, but not at the expense of building brand?
It's a great question. And I think a lot about that as it pertains to the audience point of view, the end customer. Brand is something that is felt by, your audience. In this case, it would be B2B marketers. Demand is something that we're trying to imply through the brand efforts. So for me, it's really how they work in tandem. It's not one or the other. You can't really have success without demand, and you can't really have awareness and desire without the brand part.
Shifting gears a little bit, and this goes back, I don't know, 15 years or maybe for as long as there's been marketing. People have been trying to get to this, I guess, holy grail of right message to the right person at the right time. And you're known at Attentive for personalization at scale. And I'm curious how you make sure that personalized and especially effective personalization doesn't end up feeling creepy to people.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of discussion these days around information and best practices that we share broadly with brands and social communities and that sort of thing. With Attentive, it is permission based data that's shared with our brands by their customers. And that allows those brands to get to know their customers better, meeting them at the time, place, and way that they prefer, be it email and they enjoy sitting down and shopping later at night. They're getting those messages a little bit later in the day. Or even my favorite example, maybe there's times that they don't want to be bothered or met with a marketing message. And the brands can learn from that too. Hey, Mother's Day is a painful time for this person. They're opted out of this message. So again, it's that level of personalization, one to one, where your end customer feels like one in a million.
I imagine you guys just have an insane amount of data, and I'm curious how that's showing up in providing direction for your marketing efforts. And I'm wondering if there's an example that you have in mind for how your data like really impacted or shifted the direction of a story or a campaign you ran.
We are working on, like I had mentioned earlier, some of the Black Friday, Cyber Monday work, and we actually will take data from success or challenges during that time period and launch that one day after Cyber Monday. So that will be available to our customers during kind of that post-mort period where they can understand, hey, this is what we did well, this is what could have went better, this is what other brands did, and we can look to do next year. So I think data is really important for that end moment of that campaign where we can share that data, again, kind of helping our customers and marketers along the way. Something that was real-time data was at a past company when I was at Slack, where we found out our message wasn't resonating globally. And I think that's really important too, to not just have data from campaigns or customers or work that you're putting out in the world, but making sure your message is working and conveying and doing what you need it to do. We were able to pivot that pretty quickly, along with some big time activations at the time, which was essential to success. But yeah, don't take your eye off the message. It's critical.
That's good perspective. When you start putting together these kinds of messages or even the overall foundational work for the brand, where do you draw inspiration? Do you look more to other marketers or do you look outside the industry entirely?
I think it is all of the above. I think because I had professionally worked in so many different capacities, my first years were as a creative. I'm still pulling from those types of inspirational places, be it other great podcasts, great Substack articles, that sort of thing. But I really love also grabbing a handful of print magazines, going to a museum, checking out an event. And it all starts kind of, firing those synapses in your brain. And you might think of an idea when you're sitting down to relax at the end of the night or take a shower in the morning, that sort of thing. Lastly, I think always talking with my team. I have a team meeting every week. Again, it's creative content, social comms folks, like everybody's looking, seeing, doing things. And just to have that kind of coming together people time at our team meetings, we're always learning or getting excited about something new.
That's cool. And if you had to break down like your creative process, what does that look like?
Always a bit of asking questions and curiosity in the beginning. Certainly, if it's something a little bit more tied to data or campaign messaging, feature releases, that sort of thing, I need to take the time to do discovery and research and ask my other thought partners so I understand what's going on. But then process wise, it really is relying on a good framework. I love a good starting point that is very clear. Clarity is kindness. Have a good RACI and make sure before you start doing, you have a handle on the who, what, where, when.
Jay loves a good framework as well. I just saw his eyes get real big as you mentioned that.
Yay.
Yeah, it's if when you're holding a lot of different information that's loosely connected together in your mind, having that like scaffolding or structure to start going, okay, what's actually most important and getting things in the right hierarchy, I think can help bring some order to the chaos for sure.
We do a personality working style test at our company, and it's called Insights. And there is definitely a profile that likes context and organization. So I would wonder if I could probably guess where you land on on that.
Yeah, take a guess. What do you guess?
Blue. Lead with blue, maybe.
Blue. Okay.
Blue is that, yeah, because love a good like visual. Blue is organized, contextual, needs a little bit of data to inform their work.
Oh, interesting. I would never pretend I'm an organized person, but
That's why there's three other colors.
but the frameworks help organize the part that's important.
You're never just one, you have bits of them all.
So looking ahead into the future here, obviously there's a lot of noise and a lot of people saying this is the thing you should be doing and this is where the world's heading. And it can certainly be anxiety inducing to feel like, oh, we're not doing this enough. We're not doing this enough. But what do you think what's your point of view on the things that people really can't ignore for the next 2 to 3 years? And on the flip side, what do you think might be overhyped and might turn out not to be a good investment of time and energy?
Yeah. It's hard not to think about the balance between using AI or talking about AI in your day-to-day work, also as well as, kind of the fear that a lot of marketers and creatives have really around AI taking over and taking jobs. For me, I think a lot about Tim Sanders. He's a research exec at G2 who talks about AI as a prediction engine. And I think that's really pretty interesting. For me and my team at Attentive, we're using AI in our work, but only to understand, how to get started on something, or maybe to do a little bit of organization or automation, not to take the place of the heart and soul of what we're trying to communicate, or how we really put that human polish and personal connection on the end result. So when you say that, Jason, I think again, it's a lot about maybe tempering what seems hot and buzzy and important with what does your brand believe? What do you believe? That could tie to anything, but in this case, just specifically around AI, I think, and it's in its moment, understanding how to make that work for you, your point of view, and then kind of acting as such.
Yeah. Speaking of AI in your team, like how are you all leveraging AI in your marketing work, and how is that like how is it showing up in your workflows?
So, an example, I might use it once a week. It is not a daily thing for me, but in the instance that I used it this week, I was looking to make a bit of a video matrix. Okay. I wanted to organize thoughts between customer testimonials, product launches, short form sound bites, and just kind of get that matrix out of my mind quickly. So through a couple of smart prompts, because that's all part of the process, I was able to get something I could then modify, make my own, and it probably cut down the time in probably 2/3 of the time, right? So for me, I think again, it's about using it as a tool and to its strengths, which is predicting, which is also just automation and kind of taking the busy work out of it. I would never use that to write a message to my team. Some people use it that way. Yeah, for me, I like to put the human spin on things and want to own that myself. Our team at large, just to also mention, certainly use tools like Writer, ChatGPT, just to help get them started and organized and maybe get a little bit of back and forth. But yeah, it never replaces quality work.
So if you had to put your overall marketing philosophy on a billboard right outside of your competitors' headquarters, what would it say?
It's a lot of billboards because I think most of them are remote.
Yeah.
But if they did have one brick and mortar and I had that billboard right there, I think it would be a mirror. And I say that for two reasons. One, certainly our message of marketing made personal, that is our brand purpose. And for them, I think they have to take a look at themselves then.
Yeah, that's good. So in terms of who, I know we talked about like where you draw your inspiration from, but in terms of like who you think is doing brand marketing really well right now, and this could be, in the B2B SaaS space, or it can be elsewhere. Who makes you think, damn, I wish I'd have done what they're doing? And what do you think that kind of informed that campaign that you saw that's inspiring to you, that was rooted in them kind of understanding things that maybe other people, their competitors, didn't understand about the customers or its space?
One company that stands out right now for their brand marketing is Air, the digital asset management software. I think they're taking risks. They're being bold. And from everything I've seen from some of their curated gift boxes, who doesn't love a good direct mail these days, kind of stands out, to some of their choices with influencers. And maybe they're not all landing, but I always am impressed when brand marketers get that ability and runway to just kind of try and fail fast and start over, or try and, hey, all of a sudden it's an amazing thing. And that's when the company rubber meets the road.
I think I know what you're referring to when you say some of their choices of influencers. Definitely, that was interesting. Did you see their big rebrand reveal?
Yes. And that also tickles my creative roots too. When, speaking of rebrands, at the time we're talking, like the Cracker Barrel logo was just redesigned. So there's always something every week where there's a great amount of interesting commentary to read through and have a think on.
Who would have thought people were that attached to the baked beans in the Cracker Barrel logo?
I didn't even know that was visualizing the bean until I read about that today. But yeah, really fascinating world building.
Yeah. What is your take on the Cracker Barrel rebrand? Hate it? Love it? Neutral?
I'm not an advocate for illustrations and logos that are that complex. How are you going to do that on a on a website and all sorts of places? But it's interesting that they moved away from the bean shape. Like, why not modernize that rather than just go to the kind of funky thrown on a page hexagon that just felt not intentional?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like a huge, huge fan of Waffle House. I'm a California native as of the time of our recording, but we're moving to Nashville in a couple months here. And the first thing I do when I get to Nashville is like I go to a Waffle House, and I think they have an interesting opportunity right now to like double down on that like Americana old school vibe. So we'll see how that plays out.
They just need the candy store. I mean, that's really the best thing about Cracker Barrel is the like funky candy you can get there. Not that honestly, have not been in one for many years, but you always see them by the roadside.
I hadn't been, but I did just go to one last month when I was in Colorado, and I was like, yeah, that gift shop is, you could almost get anything you need. You need a new cast iron skillet.
Oh, I didn't even know they were that. Yeah. You took me to the place of Buc-ee's in my mind. Like, have you been to Buc-ee's yet?
Not yet. No, I'm excited about it, though at some point.
Okay. So that's big in the South. I think they're probably in Nashville now, but Texas for sure. Their quality queue is clean bathrooms, but they are like a massive marketplace for snacks, barbecue, gifts. I mean, if and when you see one, take a stop. Good brand study.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but great things. So, Jess, this has been a great conversation so far, and we're almost at time. But I'm curious, like, what's something you're working on right now that you're really excited about that you want to give a shout out to?
Yes. We are taking a look under the hood at our identity. So this is something that we're just starting to get partners involved with and take a look at. And of course, as a brand marketer, I'm super excited to be involved in, any sort of rebrand and identity work. And shout out to my creative director, Sam Johnson, and my brand co-pilot, Todd Needle. Like, to be able to dive in hands in the cookie dough with those two, I'm super excited about. And so the rest of the year, next 6 months, is looking bright.
That's super cool. Well, Jess, for people that want to learn more about you and find you online, where's the best place for them to do so?
Love a good LinkedIn connect. For better or worse, I think that's the place I spend most time on social these days. And I love connecting people with opportunities, be it at Attentive or through other folks that I know out in the world. So always happy to make an introduction. I know it's tough sometimes finding new roles and mentors these days. So my door is open.
That's so thoughtful.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jess.
Thanks, Jess.